What's going on, guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am continuing my series of reviewing every map in Call of Duty with Call of Duty World at War. COD World at War came out in 2008 and was developed by Treyarch. This game was a World War II game, and the reason why is because that was the trend back then until COD 4 came out and changed everything. When COD 4 came out, this game was already deep into development, and it was too late to change anything. Even though this game was another World War II game, it is definitely a fan favorite. It introduced zombies after you completed the campaign, and what we are here for, the multiplayer, was very good. In fact, many COD fans want a remaster of the multiplayer, me included. This game overall had a very dark vibe to it. It captured how horrible and really scary World War II was. It achieves this vibe way better than newer Call of Duty World War II games in recent years. I don't know what it is, but there is just something about this game that captures that horror back then that they just nailed. And we will see that so much when I review these multiplayer maps. So this game had 23 multiplayer maps, including DLC maps. There are 3 DLC packs in this game. So I'm going to split this up a little different than my COD 4 review videos. I'm going to do them in alphabetical order and split the DLC up at the end. But to not make it too confusing, and because it would bug me, I'm going to do the base maps in 4 parts. The first 2 will have 4 map reviews, and the final 2 will have 3 map reviews. And then I will do the 3 videos for the DLC maps, 1 for each pack. So this game will have a total of 7 parts. Yeah, I know it's a lot of parts, but to stay organized, this is how I want to do it. But just like my COD 4 map reviews, each map will be rated on 4 factors: looks, playability, cool factor, vibe, and attention to detail. And each map will total up those factors to have a best rating of 40. This video will have Airfield, Asylum, Castle, and Cliffside. So let's get started with the first map. Airfield is the first map for this part 1 of the series. Airfield takes place on Peleliu Island, Palau, South Pacific Mandarin, Japan. It was a medium-sized map with either mid to long-range gunfights, although close-range gunfights could happen in the buildings. This map tried to be a balanced map for snipers, rifles, and SMGs. Not much shotgun gameplay happened on this map. There were 4 main sections on this map: the northeast building, southwest building, southeast destroyed bunker, and the crash site. For the looks of this map, I would say it's not the best. A lot of maps on World at War are not the best looking because they're going after that legit look to the war and all the destruction and everything. So this map is mostly all destroyed buildings, really not much color on it at all. Some palm trees off in the distance and on the map, but overall it's pretty terrible looking. I'm going to have to give the looks a 1.5 out of 10. Even though they tried to make this a balanced map, in my opinion, they didn't really achieve it. This map played pretty bad overall. There were always people camping on the high ground spots, but there were so many camping spots on this map, including this sniper's nest. So for me, this map played pretty bad. I'll give it a 3 out of 10. The cool factor on this map is pretty basic. It was just mostly a bunch of destroyed buildings. A couple airplanes on the map was kind of cool, but it's mostly just a smoky pile of rubble. There are a few areas on the map where there's puddles of blood everywhere, which adds to the horror factor of the map. It would have been really cool if you could have gone on this big plane, which is actually a B-17 Flying Fortress. But that would have added some more camping spots, which this map has plenty of already. Overall though, I'd say the cool factor on this map is fairly low. It would have been a lot cooler if there were more planes and other hangars or something you could go into. Like I said, it's mostly just destroyed buildings, and that's it. I'll give the cool factor a rating of a 4.2 out of 10. The attention to detail on this map was, okay. There really wasn't much there. It's a bunch of destroyed buildings with not much detail on them. For being called Airfield, there really isn't much airplanes on it. There are some hangars on the outskirts, but that's really it. If you look in the blue plane, the smaller blue plane, there's not even any gauges or anything inside it. Not very much detail for being one of the airplanes on Airfield. The only thing I can say that makes this map have a decent detail rating is that one of the buildings is basically the zombies map Nocturne and Toten, which is actually pretty cool. But even with that, this one gets a below average rating of a 4.8 out of 10. This makes Airfield's total a 13.5 out of 40. Asylum is next. It took place in Pankow, Berlin, Germany. This was a destroyed insane asylum, and all I can really read about it on Call of Duty Wiki is that it was similar to the map Showdown from COD 4, and kind of a successor of Vacant. I don't technically agree with this. To me, this map seemed very different than those two maps, but it was a small to medium-sized map with 4 main areas: the cafeteria, the bathroom hall, the north end, and the broken roof area. For the overall looks, again, it is absolutely full of destruction. This makes it pretty ugly overall, but if you look at the building from the outside and look on the outskirts of the map, it actually isn't that bad. The architecture of the building is actually pretty good looking. It would be better if it wasn't so destroyed, but from some angles, it's pretty good looking. There is this courtyard area with a fountain. There is also a bunch of trees on the outskirts of the map and grass throughout the map, which adds some color to it. But overall, it's still pretty below average. To me, it gets a 4 out of 10 rating for the looks. The playability was decent to me. I guess being supposedly similar to Showdown and Vacant, this makes sense. Overall, the gunfights were close quarters, inside the big buildings, and you can get artillery strike streaks, and since the building is destroyed in a lot of places, you can get kills with this streak, especially if the enemy spawned on the destroyed side of the building. So, to me, this map played pretty good. Not the best. It was still overall on the larger side, so kind of a sniper-heavy map, but I'll give it an overall rating of a 5.8 out of 10. Oh man, the vibe of this map though. It was absolutely top-notch. This map is probably the most creepy map in the entire game. There were so many scary sounds on this map. If you go to these double doors here, you can hear piano music. It is very faint, but it's there. I'll try and raise the volume for you here. On the balcony, you can hear very creepy whispers. Gives me the chills. But the most creepy part by far is in the bathroom area. Not only can you hear the whispers, but you can hear a woman screaming and a knife dragging on the concrete. Ooh man, it never gets old. It's so awesome. The vibe is so great on this map, and I love it. It gets a 9.5 out of 10 for the rating. The attention to detail, again, was kind of middle of the road. I decided that the screaming and whispers and other things on the map similar to that is not a detail, rather it's more of a vibe factor. So the screaming will not be part of the detail rating. This rating is more like graphics, just stuff they add on the map. So, on this map, yes, you got the fountain and the cool looking lights on the outside of the building. There is some furniture here and there on the map interior, but for the most part, it's all destroyed rubble. Kind of disappointing to me, because the vibe was so good. They could have added some extra details to it to add to the horror of this map. It does have this sign which translates to mentally ill asylum from Germany. But really, with all that, it gets a below average rating of a 4.8 out of 10. This makes Asylum's total rating a 24.1 out of 40. Castle took place at the Shuri Castle in Naha, Okinawa, Japan. Based off the real Shuri Castle, this map was a medium-sized map and had some balconies and windows that provided a height advantage, while a tower often served as a sniping spot, though it's also a hot spot for grenade attacks. The looks of this map were absolutely amazing. You have the beautiful Shuri Castle with the red rooftops and just the amazing architecture overall. There was the green trees in this area and the stunning cherry blossom trees dropping leaves throughout the match. There was a pond and garden areas on the map as well. If you go to this spot over here and look over the cliff, you can see more trees and really green mountains off in the distance. All I have to say is what a difference in looks this map is from the other two we've already reviewed. This map is probably one of the most beautiful maps in Call of Duty history. For the looks rating, I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10. For the playability, it was very good. In the main area leading up to the castle, there were multiple entry points which provided different flank opportunities to sneak up on the enemy. The other area, the dojo, is the largest and contains a particularly ruined tower where players would often stage ambushes or take up sniper positions. The dojo area was often the main battling area. Yeah, I really love playing this map. It is definitely a fan favorite of this game for the way it plays. It is very surprising that the only remaster we have ever gotten for this one is on Call of Duty Vanguard. The rating I give for the playability is an 8.2 out of 10. The cool factor is also top notch for this one. It is so awesome that you're battling in a castle. There wasn't as much horror vibe to this one, but it makes up for it in the cool factor. I love Japanese buildings and architecture, and playing on this map was absolutely awesome. This dojo area was really cool, and I can picture people practicing martial arts in there. There is a bit of a pleasant, peaceful vibe to this map. You can even hear birds chirping off in the distance. For the cool factor / vibe rating, I will give Castle a rating of an 8 out of 10. The attention to detail was pretty solid on this map. As I said with the looks, there are so many different plants on this map. The lily pads in the pond area, the cherry blossom trees, the bridge itself is a nice red that stands out perfectly. There's all kinds of statues on the map. The dojo area had those Japanese style walls and doors. The garden area had the white rocks and the pathway down the middle. And of course all the detail that went into the architecture of the buildings themselves. And one more small detail, there is one side of the map where you will find a United States backpack. Seems a little out of place, being that this map is all about Japan, with the flags flying and everything. Overall though, pretty good detail on this one. I will give it an 8.2 out of 10. That makes Castle's total a 33.9 out of 40. Cliffside is an iconic multiplayer map in Call of Duty World at War. This was a large map that took place in Okinawa, Japan again, and offered a tense and immersive battlefield set against the backdrop of a Japanese cliffside. The map being based on the campaign mission Blowtorch and Corkscrew It gives it that historical and thematic continuity with a single player campaign, making it feel like a real battlefield pulled straight from the Pacific War setting. The looks of this map were really good, like Castle. Being in the mountains, all the green makes it really good looking. When you overlook the cliff, you can see the beach at the bottom, which adds to that look as well. There's also a very beautiful waterfall at one end of the map. The bunkers themselves are not the best looking thing in the world, but the green plants and other foliage on the map make up for it. There's even a cherry blossom tree and some Japanese statues over near the waterfall as well. For the looks, I will give it a rating of a 9 out of 10. The playability was pretty good if you're a sniper. With its sprawling layout, it's a paradise for snipers, allowing players to spot enemies from great distances. But the dense foliage, bunkers, and scattered rocks make sure it's not just long-range warfare. Close quarters combat thrives in the hidden pockets of the terrain, so it made the map somewhat balanced. This map was also brought back as a remaster in Call of Duty Black Ops as Hazard. But when I played this map, since I wasn't much of a sniper, I would just creep around the outskirts and sneak up on the snipers at their perches. This map was pretty fun though. I will give it a playability rating of a 7.5 out of 10. The vibe cool factor was also pretty good on this map. There is a really peaceful area by the waterfall, and even by the ocean, hearing the waves with the birds chirping. But on the other side of the map, if you go into these bunkers, you can hear that creepy whisper again, which brings the horror vibe way up. It's a little faint when you're playing in the game, just walking around, but if you go into spectator mode and go in the jail cell or whatever it is, you can hear the whisper very clear. So, this brings up the cool factor vibe a lot. I'll give it a ranking of an 8.5 out of 10. The attention to detail was okay on this map. In the bunkers, there really wasn't much there to see, just a dirt floor. In this tomb area, there really wasn't much either. No writing on the coffin, and not even anything inside it. No skeleton, nothing. Outside in the area where you can actually go, yes, there are all the trees, plants, and water, but still kinda bare bones in my opinion. There isn't cherry blossom leaves falling from the trees or anything like that, like on Castle. There is this down Japanese plane that added some detail, but it's not very detailed inside, not even gauges or nothing. Also, the coconuts can be shot out of the trees, which is actually pretty cool. If you look on the outskirts of the map, you will see one floating red barrel in the water, which can be shot and it blows up. There's only one out there though. Kind of weird, but that's a little detail right there. If you look right at the bottom of the cliff, there's this pool of blood like somebody fell off the cliff to their death. Also adds to the creepy factor, but overall I would say this map's detail is pretty average. I will give it a 5.2 out of 10. That makes the total score for Cliffside a 30.2 out of 40. So that will conclude part 1 of me reviewing every Call of Duty World at War map. I'm hoping it won't take long to get part 2 out, but these take a while to make, so I will do my best to get it out ASAP. Be sure to subscribe though, so you don't miss when it comes out. If you like this video, let me know, but thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.